Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? Perry Jeffries here, your entrepreneur CFO, coming to you live. Let's do a quick systems check here and we'll get right in here to the information because we don't want to keep you long. Doo-doo. Okay, let's do a quick systems check. Make sure y'all can hear me okay. All right, we sound good. Let's get right to it, y'all. So, hey, if you've been following us here, you know we've been doing 30 days of financial literacy because April is Financial Literacy Month. So, to jump right into the information today, we're going to talk about, again, as we improve our financial literacy, our language around managing cash, right? So, our cash flow communication. Our a financial freestyle, however you want to, quantify or whatever you want to call this thing, but you have to start understanding the language of money. You first have to understand the language of money before you can start managing the language of money. So, an analogy, a metaphor that I always use is this. If we were to pick you up and set you down in a foreign country, say, let's say we set you down in France and you don't speak a lick of French, what are you able to do? You're immediately at a disadvantage. You're immediately handicapped. If you can't speak the language, you can't understand the language, you can't ask for help, you can't order food. You know what I'm saying? If you get sick, you can't order medicine, you're at a complete loss. You're dependent on somebody else to tell you, what to do or whatever the case may be. So we don't want that for you. So that's why understanding the language of finance is the absolute most important thing you can do to improve your financial situation. So with that being said, the equation that I love, and I think it's the most important equation that you can think of when you think about finance is ROI. Now, you may have heard of ROI. That is short for return on investment. Now, you hear people talk about ROI all the time, but I find that very few people actually know what return on investment is. Right, or how to calculate return on investment. So, as I'm working with entrepreneurs, I'm their CFO, and we're going through and we're determining the ROI on certain expenses, they may think, hey, I'm spending, $100 on this expense and it's worth it. But when we calculate the ROI, we may find that it has a negative 57% ROI. Is that going to continue to be an expense we want to spend money on? So let me just show it to you guys here live. So bear with me here 1 second. I can show you better than I can tell you. Let me share this screen. Boom. There we go. All right. So this is one of the spreadsheets we use inside our Profit Accelerator small business system. And it's really awesome. So what it does, it helps us calculate ROI on any expense we want to think of. So whether we're talking about staff, whether we're talking about product, whether we're talking about marketing, you should be calculating your ROI at all times. And the same thing can be said for your investments. So let's just give an example here. Let's say that your monthly revenue for the month was $10,000. So your business made $10,000, and let's say that you're paying me, Perry Jeffries. Let's say that you're paying me $2,000 that month. Well, that immediately tells us that you're paying me 20% of your revenue. And you may be like, "Whew, that's a lot to pay somebody based on my revenue." Okay. But the next question you have to ask yourself, and what you have to calculate, is what is the perceived or actual value of paying this Perry Jeffries person, right? So if I'm your marketing person and you're paying me, $2,000 a month, and my marketing generates that you can go and calculate, let's say $5,000, let's type that in. But then that's a difference of $3,000. So, I'm saying, pretty much a profit of $3,000, but that is 150% return on investment. That's a pretty good ROI. A lot of times when we ask people like, hey, what do you consider a good return on investment? We hear things like 10%, 20%, right? Well, this is 150% ROI. So really, though that expense is 20% of the total revenue, you may want to see where you can double down on that, because if that number stays consistent, you're effectively printing money in this situation, right? Okay. So let's look at this. Let's say you have another staff member. So let's say you have an assistant, and let's say that you're paying them $1,000 a month. You're paying them 10% of your revenue. Now, your assistant is not responsible for any sales being driven, or anything along those lines that actually brings in more revenue. So then you have to ask yourself, like, okay, what is the return on investment of this particular staff? Well, how we'll look at this, we'll say, well, If my hourly rate is say $500 an hour, and my assistant freed up 10 hours of my month, right? So 10 times 500. Matter of fact, let's use a different number. Let's go. She freed up 20 hours in my month. Okay. So 20, you know what I'm saying, 20 hours times my rate, what's that, 10,000 bucks, right? So if we look at that math right there, if my hourly rate is $500 a month, and she actually freed up 20 hours of my day, 20 hours of my month, I should say. That's effectively a perceived value of $10,000. Of $9,000 difference, that's a 900% return on investment. That's pretty solid, right? Well, let's say you got this other staff member here. We're just gonna call them bad staff. Okay? And let's say that you're paying them, $2,500 a month. And that is 25% of revenue. And then you look at their production, and their production is only bringing in, say, 425 bucks. Well, that's a negative 2,075, y'all. That means that is a negative 83% return on investment. So how many months are you going to keep an investment that's, netting you a negative 83% return on your money, right? So now what you're able to do is calculate ROI, and that allows you to make what we call a data-driven decisions. Okay. Matter of fact, let's just use this same for an investment, because a lot of times people don't know how to determine whether or not their investment was good. So let's say you had an investment. Let's say that you invested, $5,000 into a stock, right? And of course, when everything happened with the GameStop and AMC, everybody like, oh man, I'm saying, you can flip your money, I'm saying, and make, I'm saying, 1,000% return on your money, right? And things of that nature. But let's look at it for a second here. Let's say that you invested five, so you put 5,000 into a certain investment, and the next month you turn around, that investment is, let's say, worth 5,500. Easy math. Plug that math in, you made 500 bucks. That was 10%. 10% for a month is not bad. Think about what your interest rate is on your mortgage. Think about what your interest rate is on your savings account. On your savings account, you're probably earning less than 1%, right? Think about what your interest rate is on your credit card, right? So again, you may not be excited about an investment that only grew by 500 bucks over the course of a month, but that's 10%. That's a pretty solid ROI. So again, y'all, I believe that ROI is the most important equation, and one of those financial literacy pieces that you have to start to understand. But you you're not limited to just dealing with your ROI when it comes to, investments and staff and things of that nature. My wife would tell you one of the first conversations we had was, I put an ROI on my time, right? What is the return on investment in my time? Now, sometimes that's hard to calculate, right? But when you think about where you're spending your time, immediately ask yourself, hey, what I'm saying, let's go here, for example, and put in Netflix, right? And let's say that you're spending, for the sake of conversation here, 10 hours a month on Netflix, right? What is the actual perceived value on there? Did you make any money? Did you lose any money? More than likely, you didn't make any money on that. So let's say that, what I'm saying, your actual value on that is zero. I mean, that's a negative 100% return, a negative 100% return on your time, right? Think about where you're spending your time, think about where you're spending your money. And remember, you can always go back to the ROI equation. And we had that equation sitting in the description. So definitely write that down and use it every day for everything. We usually advise people that business owners to use the ROI equation on their top 5 to 10 expenses, just to see where, hey, this is where you're spending most of your money. What is the ROI? Either the actual or the perceived ROI. I hope this was helpful, y'all. Keep joining us for financial literacy tips for the month of April. Be sure to share this if you found some value in it. Again, Perry Jeffries here, your entrepreneur CFO. This segment brought to you by the PASS program, the Profit Accelerator Small Business System, powered by the Cash Flow Club, our online membership of entrepreneurs and like-minded individuals who want to make sure that they get, best information they can around their finances. So with that being said, y'all, remember that our goal is always to close the wealth gap one business at a time. God bless you. Talk to you later. Peace.